So good afternoon, everybody. I know there's been a great deal of question about, so when is this task force going to start its task? And my answer is, we started weeks ago in Washington, D.C. We actually have staff members who are working right now. I tell you what, I think if you were to look at us, and we just had a conversation, there's not one person on this conference that's identifying just as a Republican or a Democrat. We're identifying as members of Congress on a task force with a task to restore the faith and trust and confidence the American people have to have in our system. So,
listen, something that doesn't happen very often happened in the House of Representatives last month when we took the vote to establish this task force. And that is every single voting member of the House of Representatives that day, all 416 members, voted to create this task force and to empower this group to answer really important questions for the American people. And I think that sends a very strong message that you don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican or an unaffiliated to say that there's no room for political violence in America. We have debates. We're going to have tough debates, and we're in the midst of an election cycle right now, and all of us are going to have those tough debates. But in the United States of America, you do not get to attempt to assassinate our elected officials and our candidates. It's unacceptable. And we are standing here in a bipartisan way to send the message that we won't tolerate it. So we're going to get answers. The American people have a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions. What we hope to do here today is to help restore confidence of the American people that their elected officials and their candidates are secure. And we know there's a lot of Americans sitting at home that don't have that confidence. So that is our work. We're going to take it very seriously. We have very limited amounts of time between now and December 13th. We're going to conduct a full, thorough, and robust investigation, and it's going to be done in a bipartisan way.
But I think when you talk to the members of this committee who actually have done that in military service, they look at it and they look at the measuring of distances and they said, how could this not have been prevented? And the burning question is always going to be with me. There was knowledge ahead of time that there was a person of suspicion on that roof and armed. The key was get the former president of the United States off the podium, then there's nothing that has to take place. Mr. Comprador will be alive today, the two men that were wounded, the president, and also, not only did we lose Mr. Comprador that day, the Crooks family lost their son.
Before Congress, I was an Army Ranger. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and one of the fundamental principles you operate is you always secure the high ground, or you have eyes on the high ground. So I definitely took note today that there were a lot of lines of sight that appear to have been unsecured that day, that didn't have eyes on or that weren't secured, and certainly at this point a lot more questions than answers.
Well, it's the difference between day and night. When you're actually here on this surface, when you're actually walking in these grounds, when you're actually going to the building, when you're actually up on the roof, when you're actually looking at where did we have people positioned, where was the shooter positioned, if you can actually look at that right now in person, then all the rest of the pictures right away, it's like, okay, I got it, I know where that was. So the big thing for us being here today was to actually be on the ground, get familiar with the ground, be comfortable with the questions we were going to ask because of the way it was laid out.